What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Nesler. We come to you each and every week to talk to you about the business of Moto. Guests in the industry that have done incredible things, guests in the industry that are building incredible things, and sometimes even special guests from outside the industry that can bring you some incredible knowledge to help you build your Moto career. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast, coming to you with a little bit of a different background if you're watching us today. Having some technical difficulties in the studio, so we're reverting back to my office. But hey, it still works, and we still got a great guest for you who we'll get to in just a moment. Before we dive in, I want to remind you guys, be sure to subscribe to RacerX. You can do so or renew. You can do so by going to racerxonline.com/Moto Marketing. That shows the powers that be that you guys actually listen to this and that we help drive renewals and subscriptions. I don't get a kickback. I don't get a cut. I just love the support they give us, and we'd love for you guys to support them. Also, our friends at Michelin Tire. Bicycle tires. Those of you that listen to the show know, those of you that know our guest probably know that I own and run a e-bike race team in the GNCC series. Michelin Bicycle Tires is one of our biggest supporters, and they've got an awesome lineup of tires from the E-Wild to the Wild Enduro, the Force AM2. They even have BMX tires available, and they just came out with the Michelin Starcross 6 for those of you that are dirt bike owners and racing GNCC or motocross. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to our friends at 100%. Everybody knows the name, knows the quality of the products, but they make more than just eyewear protection for Moto. They're making awesome apparel. They make awesome protective gear for bicycling now as well. So be sure to check them out and support them as they support the sport through and through. Hey, we've got a great guest with us today. Those of you that are common folks for the GNCC community, and those of you that maybe have only been to one or two probably know this guy very well. We got Mikey Waynes with us. Mikey is an awesome personality at GNCC, notorious voice, getting more and more time on the mic. But man, Mike, you really caught my attention just from you're like half comedian, half announcer. Like, you're just an awesome personality in an awesome, very unique and different type of motorsport that we have with GNCC. So we got Mikey Waynes with us today. Man, welcome to the show. I was excited to have this with you, so I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm stoked about it. I apologize. Our first time around, it didn't work out.
Well, second time it didn't work out because of me. So it's all good.
Yeah. My wife actually, because I missed that appointment, she went out and she bought me a daily planner where I can actually handwrite, and it's been a game changer for me.
That's awesome, man.
I needed it.
That's awesome. No, we're happy to have you on, man. We don't get much time to talk at the races. It's normally just kind of yelling as you're passing through. You're always busy as can be, and I'm either trying to act busy or I'm just sitting there. But man, I really wanted to have you on because you've got a really cool role that you play with the GNCC community, and I've kind of caught on. You're doing it more with just GNCC. I think you're pretty involved with Loretta's and some of the other races, really anything that MX Sports is and Racer Productions is doing. And you just got a great personality, a great voice. You know the sport well, and the fans love interacting with you from your podium speeches or podium interviews with riders and whatnot. And we'll get to that, but I know that you didn't start there. So for those of you that don't know you, let's go back. How did Mikey Waynes find Moto? How did you get into the sport? Was it Moto? Was it quads? What was it that brought you into this industry?
It was honestly a complete and total accident. Like a lot of people, those kind of situations. Grew up definitely a normal kid, like Midwestern kid with nothing to do. While all my friends were out, playing with Power Rangers and whatever, me and my buddy were in his basement filming our own David Letterman skits and Saturday Night Live skits, like little weird kids. So always loved entertaining. Actually did some stand-up comedy in my early 20s.
Really?
And I was good at it.
Awesome.
I was good at it. I enjoyed it, and kind of wanted to pursue that. But my wife, I was newly married, only been married for a few years, and we sat down and talked about it. And I'm like, if I go down this road, I mean, you're leaving a comedy club late at night. I'm going to go out. I'm going to drink with whoever I'm with. I'm going to party. I don't know if this is a good idea for me in my early 20s. So thankfully I had the maturity enough to be like, maybe I shouldn't do this. I'll stick with the day job and just see what happens in the future. May have saved my marriage, who knows? But it was probably the right call at the time. My wife's, my buddies all race. Okay. So I ride street bikes. My buddies race dirt bikes. So I would go with them to run locals because my wife and her friends were also trophy girls for this race series, small off-road series in Indiana called MAXC way back in the day. So I hung out with them and pitted them, which is a fancy way of saying I would drink a case of beer over a weekend and, fuel them. That's it. That's it. Right. Yeah. So it popped up the opportunity that that series they had two announcers. They took one of them, my friend Acacia, and she started doing some filming for a little show they were doing. And they came to me and they're like, hey, you have experience on the mic. You know enough about this sport to be dangerous. Will you interview the 4 and 5 year olds on the podium that come off from the race? Sure. I was terrible. I mean, absolutely horrible. My first podium interviews with these kids, I was failing all over the place, getting names mixed up. And I remember my friend Acacia, she's a beautiful person. One of the dads in the crowd was like, where's the hot girl? Bring the hot girl back. This guy is terrible. So after day one, I'm like, I can't ever do this again. There's no way. I was so bad at this. But for some reason, they're like, hey, can you come next race? Sure. Stuck with it. That was 2012 or 2013 time. Ended up doing locals, got better at it with repetition. And GNCC posted that they were in need of a part-time announcer. Matt Watson, better known as Megawatt, was kind of stepping away from GNCC, focusing more on pro moto, and they needed someone to kind of fill his shoes. So I saw the post. I thought, man, that would be kind of cool. There's no way in hell they'll ever look at me. Like, I don't have a chance. So just kind of let it go. That night, kind of ignored it. I opened up social media the next day, and everybody on Facebook from Indiana was like, you got to look at this guy, check him out. Started tagging me in it. At the time it was Chelsea Taylor, who was kind of managing all of that, or at least.
When was this? What year was this about?
This would have been 2015.
Okay.
Shortly, I think after the banquet. So like November, December. So I thought, all right, I'll throw my name in the hat. Worst they tell me is hit the road. You don't have enough experience. There's no way you could do this at a national level. Did an interview with Tim Cotter. Cotter said, why don't we try it out for a few rounds, see if it's a good fit for you, see if it's a good fit for us. I was like, sure. So first season was 2016. Was it 2016? Yeah, 2016. Had a blast, loved it, loved every second. And here I am, 2022, going into another year of it. So
it's interesting because your style, everybody has their own style. And I think that's what's cool about that gig or that position, whether it's people on TV or at the track. Like, the reason I'm in this sport or got the opportunities I had to grow my business in the sport is because I'm a very close personal friend of Tim Cotter's. I'm from the same town, close friends with his kids growing up. I used to like Tim Cotter's voice was like Art Ekman to me, as Art Ekman is to some of the people out there. Just I grew up like hearing them on The Great Outdoors, and like, so everybody has their own style. I also know Matt Megawatt very well because he's from I'm in Morgantown. He's from this area. I like Matt. It's funny because like I didn't realize this until I started to hear it kind of, on message boards or on some of the podcasts. Like, not everybody's a big Megawatt fan, and I don't really understand why, because I love Matt. I think he's hilarious.
I do too. I
don't get that same, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the podcast. I just wouldn't bring this up. If people didn't like you and I saw this, I just wouldn't bring this up. I don't see people doing that with you. And it's not just Megawatt. I shouldn't say that. I've seen people say that about Weege. And Weege is a freaking man. He's the reason I have the show. I don't see as many people, or I don't see anybody really doing that with you, because you almost walk this weird fine line of like, you're there to like party and have a good time. And I see you hanging out with the fans as much as I see you announcing and doing your quote unquote job. Not in the sense that you're not doing what you're supposed to do, but you connect with the fans on a level that I feel like some announcers either don't care to or just can't. Like, people seek you out. And like a couple years ago, you had this saying going, that was like a hashtag about, are you going to the race? And it was, you going, and like it took off, and like you made this thing big. And like, I don't know, I just haven't seen other people connect. And I also think it's a GNCC thing. Like, it's a very different vibe and a type of a person that races and attends GNCCs compared to Loretta's qualifiers and pro motocross nationals, things like that. Do you feel that same way? Is that something that you try to consciously do, connect with the people, the fans, the riders, in more of a capacity than just the guy that's on the microphone?
Yeah, I guess my take on what I want to bring to announcing, to calling races is kind of that blue collar mentality of,
that's a good way to put it.
I didn't race growing up, right? So I've always felt like, hey, if I get on the mic, especially, TV broadcast, whether I'm doing a MAV TV voiceover or live calling a race on Racer TV, if I start going in on, how the bike is set up, or, the terrain the riders are facing today and what they need to do as a rider, people are going to read right through that as BS coming from me. I'm going to let a guy like Johnny Gallagher talk about that, who rode the track the day before. I'm going to let the athlete speak to that aspect of it. So to me, it's like, okay, I got to be the color guy. I know what I'm talking about, or I know enough about what I'm talking about on screen or in person. So talk about what I can relate to. And, those are the feelings the rider, the nerves before the race, and the relief after the race, whether you won or you did, got a top 5 and that's what you were shooting for. So I've always tried to kind of follow those stories with the riders more than, hey, Ben Kelly, tell me about your bike setup for today.
Right. Yeah.
So that's always been my goal. And I told my wife from the start, I was like, I want to treat the 4-year-old on the P-Dub the same I would treat Caleb Russell on Sunday. I want to treat them with the same respect, mostly because those kids, the kids especially, the youth riders, they don't know it yet. Mom and dad know, some mom and dads don't, but they don't realize that they're making like these huge memories, because as they get older, they're probably not going to be that pro level guy that is a top 3 that gets to be on the podium and get all the attention. So I want them to be able to look back 10, 15 years from now and be like, man, when I was 7 years old on my 65cc machine, I got 3rd place, and at the national podium, I got to go up and, thank my sponsors and thank mom and dad. So I try to make it special for everybody. I feel like that is my primary job, is to make all those riders feel like Caleb Russell, like Eli Tomac, like Walker Fowler.
That's one of the things that I think is really cool about GNCC in general, is it really doesn't matter what sport or what class it is. When you get on that podium, they make you feel like you're really special. Like I've got a ton of money and a ton of time sunk into this e-bike team, and I take it serious, but we are kind of the sideshow. We are the sideshow. And like, people look at us like, like, why are these dudes in Lycra? Like, we're kind of a joke compared to like the main reason everybody else is there. And you or whoever's doing the podiums for us, whether it's the big bore class, which means the heavy guys like myself, the non-athletes, all the way to Charlie Mullins, to the 9-year-olds, you guys make each and every one of even the e-bike racers feel special that get on that podium. And I think that that's really cool. And it might seem like it's easy to do, but I've done enough broadcast TV announcing stuff in my day, not a ton, but enough to know that, man, it's not easy to be able to do. And you got like, I used to do a lot of public speaking, and I would talk for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And like, I would be tired after I talked for an hour. You do it all day, all day, from like 8 a.m. until 5 o'clock at night for 2 days straight. What is like, this might sound silly, but like, what's that like? Do you have to be conscious about like, okay, I've got to make sure I eat or my blood sugar is going to drop and I'm going to be like a space cadet for the next hour. Like I got to make sure I have water. Like, how do
Yeah.
you get through 2 full days of just nonstop talking, let alone Loretta's?
Tons of caffeine. I'm a coffee addict. So, I mean, I legit drink about a pot a day. So that helps. And I'm a total like ambivert. So I love being around people. I love entertaining, and having fun. But then there comes that moment where I'm like, I want to be alone. I want to get back to the hotel. I don't want to be around anybody. And it's nothing against anybody.
Yep.
I want that time alone. So that kind of helps get through the day. But you guys, the e-bikes on Saturday, that's a really good example of like, by the time we get to the e-bike race, we've done micro bikes, micro quads, youth quads, adult amateur quads, and pro quads. So we've been, between Rodney and I mean, we've been talking basically since 7 a.m. to, 5:30 in the evening when the e-bikes start. And I always tell myself, like, don't turn it off yet, because, these guys are just getting going, especially on those podiums. And I will say the e-bike riders, they make it easy because everybody loves it so much that their enthusiasm after the race is almost contagious.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, they're still stoked to be here. I gotta, even if I'm faking it, I gotta act like I'm stoked to be here, even though I want to go home to the hotel and lay down and chill.
Yeah.
But just hang on for those last couple hours.
That's the kind of stuff that I think when you see it, you have an appreciation for it, and you understand like the last thing that these guys want to be doing is calling this silly motorized bicycle mountain bike event after they just called quads all day and they got to wake up and do bikes tomorrow. But man, you do a great job with it, and everybody that works with you, Rodney and all those guys, do a great job with it. So you still have you have a podcast, right? Do you still do that?
Yeah. My buddy and I, DQ David Quellen, who most, I guess, nationally would probably know, he was a mechanic for Thad back in the ISDE days. But he and I do a show on Facebook, Bottleneck Live. Right now, we just literally will go live on Facebook, and somewhere between 80 and 100 people will watch live. And we don't take each other serious. We don't take anything too serious, and just basically spend an hour to an hour and a half just like we're doing. I mean, like two dudes sitting in a garage talking about racing. Yeah. Super simple, laid back, and normally there's a beer or two involved.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I've watched a few of them. I watched a decent amount of them the first year I started the e-bike team, because I grew up an avid Supercross and Motocross fan. Like at one point I knew everything about anybody. But even though I'm from Morgantown, West Virginia, I didn't know that much about GNCC. And then I got to a point to where the marketing agency that I owned, we started doing all the digital marketing for GNCC. And I knew what it is. Mm-hmm. I understand it as a sport, but I didn't know the riders. So then I started to listen to your show. And then when I started this team, I was like, well, we're going to be there all day Friday, all day Saturday. I at least want to know who the quad guys are, who the bike guys are. And I really learned a lot about the sport, quads and moto, from your podcast. Brandon Whitehair has a show that we listen to. So, I mean, it's cool that podcasts are like the coolest thing. Like, I don't know who likes to listen to business and marketing talk about moto, but I was blown away when it's like 14,000 people a week. Like it's cool that you can have a podcast about anything, and now you can do it in a motorcycle dealership or a garage or an attic and get it out there. And you guys have done a really cool job with it. Do you have people come up to you at the races that talk about the show and listen to the show?
It's so funny. And people will ask like, man, I want to start a show or I want to start a podcast. What do I need to do? And my advice is always just start filming, just start recording yourself. I don't care if it's from an iPhone or a Microsoft Surface, whatever it is, just start doing it. And there's always going to be an audience out there for somebody. What's funny is what we'll have is like inside jokes, like the you going thing, like you talked about. We would always make this joke at GNCCs that everybody always asks where Tech is. So where's Tech? Dude, I had a kid come up to me at a race and he made a bottleneck shirt, and on the back it says, where's Tech? So like all these little inside jokes that we just laugh about, people like they catch on. So that's probably the most common thing is people just coming up saying, you going, or, hey, where's tech? And
so
just little things like that.
The only thing I know about tech is that's where I go to make sure my transponder works. Now this is for e-bikes, and I know the guys, like the dudes that are at tech, they're like the most country dudes ever, and they don't care or know about e-bikes. It's not a tech inspection for us. I could roll up there with literally a 450 motor attached to my e-bike. They're not gonna.
You're
good.
Yeah,
it looks
go.
good. Yeah, you're good. So
good.
Tech inspection, in GNCC for like quads and bikes, like are they actually looking for certain things like they do with Supercross and Motocross and whatnot?
Yeah, it is a little more extensive. You get into the bikes and quads of it, and I mean, you got a guy that's, not in the mod class. It's got a modified bike, whatever, little things like that. Yeah, little things like that.
Yeah. For e-bikes, it's just to make sure your transponder works. That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's funny.
Hey, so what's next, man? I mean, I feel like for those that get into this sport, especially in kind of like your path with announcing and using your voice, the opportunities tend to always kind of present themselves to where you've got guys like Daniel Blair, and now he's on NBC, and you've got guys like Weege, and he started from nothing to where he is now the voice of the sport. You have your own journey, but a similar journey. Is there any goals you have, or any new opportunities on the horizon that maybe you can talk about?
Yeah, I look up to Weege quite a bit. He's one of the few people I've met in the industry. I've met Eli Tomac and Villapoto, Chad Reed, all these riders that I'm like, man, this was a really cool thing. And my buddies are obsessed with that. Yeah. Meanwhile, I meet guys like Wygant, and I'm like, hi, Jason, I'm Mikey. You probably don't know me. And he's like, yeah, I know who you are. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing on earth to me. But just honestly, it's, I've got a day job. I love my day job. I make good money doing announcing, but it's not quit your day job money yet. I would like to get to that point. And where that path takes me, I'm wide open, to be honest. I just had an opportunity I had to turn down that then I didn't have to turn down, but then it got filled, and I was very bummed about it. Fly Racing had reached out about doing an MC event out in Boise, Idaho for a movie premiere about like Harleys and choppers and kind of, where that industry started. And it fell on the day before my anniversary. And so I was like, I'm probably going to be out of town with my wife. I hate to pass up this opportunity, but I'm going to have to. And it was, we'll fly you out, all that stuff. And I texted my wife about it, and I was like, you'll be proud of me. I turned it down because that's our anniversary weekend. And she goes, well, why don't we just take our anniversary in Boise, Idaho, and go do it? And I'm like, oh, crap. So I text the guy back immediately, and he's like, well, we just filled it, but I will keep you in mind for the next one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think those opportunities will continue to present themselves. That's cool to hear that you're getting those asks. And I know that, man, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years with like MAV TV and the Nationals. You're very, very close to that circle. Yeah. And I can definitely see you maybe getting an opportunity to do some stuff there. And I mean, that's television as well as streaming online. So that would be cool to see too.
I do love this. I hope nobody takes offense to this. I love calling Moto, because after doing a GNCC, Moto is almost easy. It's like, it's a cakewalk. GNCC's live coverage, the drone has changed a lot for us for our live coverage, but generally speaking, we have to BS a lot for off-road racing
because for hours.
Yeah. I mean, you just can't see the riders out there because there's just not enough cameras. So then when I go and do a moto, whether it's mini-O's for Racer TV or even just like Loretta's qualifiers, where I can see the entire track and I can talk about, okay, the guy in first has run away with it. He's up by a minute. Fantastic. Let's look at some battles in third, fourth, fifth, those transfer spots, stuff like that. So it's almost a little easier to do moto than it is woods racing. But yeah, I'd love that. I got to call a little bit of, I always do the amateurs on Friday before Pro Moto at Ironman, and then amateurs on Sunday. So it was kind of cool. I got to go up in the booth with Matt Watson and Rob Bitus and call some of the race on Saturday, the pro race, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, I love that. I cherish those opportunities for sure.
That's awesome. Well, man, it's always good to get to chat with you, and we'll definitely get you back on here one of these days. And man, you're doing some really, really cool things, and I enjoy when I hear your voice at the race. Like you just bring a unique and fun tone to the day, and I appreciate what you do for the e-bike stuff, man. When we come around and you make us feel and not just the fast guys, like again, the fat slow dudes like myself, like, hey, oh, he just said my name and I'm a 33, I don't know, I'm 32 or 33, I forget. But like you make me, it's like, oh, you get that same feeling as if you're like 16, and it's really cool, man. And I have a massive appreciation for, what you do. And yeah, man, looking forward to connecting with you here next weekend and at the Hoosier.
I'm ready for it. And that one's in my backyard, basically.
That's right, man.
I live 7 miles from there, so I'm stoked.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, Mikey, man, it's great having you on again. Thanks for all you do. And anybody that wants to follow you on Instagram or anything like that, what's a good place for them to check you out?
My name, Mikey Waynes, MikeyWaynes. So it's awesome. That on Instagram and Facebook, and I have a Twitter, but I don't ever use my Twitter, and I couldn't even tell you what that handle is, to be honest.
Hey man, it might change now that Elon bought Twitter. We'll see what happens with the popularity of it.
It has increased my curiosity over the last few days. I've been scrolling a little bit more.
Yeah, awesome, man. Hey, we'll talk to you soon, Mikey. I appreciate your time.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, then check out how Impakt Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpakt.com. That's THINKIMPAKT.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.